Okay. One second. Okay. Let's go. The Gemara Psochim on the Feim and Aleph. Dvei Rabbi Yishmael Tana Motzinu Arbo Oso Sheniko Rishon Shenema Borishon Bi'arbo Oso Yom LaChodesh. And the Rambam clearly says this is a Pirush Mekubal Moshe Rabbeinu in Mishnah Torah. He says in Hilchos Chomutz Umatzah Perek Beis Halacha Aleph, B'yom Rishon Tashbisul Som B'Teichem Mipi Hashmur, which is a Pirush Mekubal, Lomdu Sherishon Zeh Hu Yom Arba Oso. So l'cheira, the pshat is that the mitzvah's Tashbisu was on Yudalit. The Mishnah in Psochim Per Gimel Mishnah Vov Arba Oso Shechol Yois B'Shabbos Mevaran Es HaKol of Nei Shabbos Divrei Meir Chomoimrim Bizmanon Rabbi Loz Websodik Oime Tchum of Nei HaShabbos V'chulim Bizmanon. So what's Bizmanon? On Shabbos. So it means that the Tashbisu is on the 14th day of Nisan on Shabbos. And the Ram Pirush Mishnayis passes over Loza Ben Yankiv, Sodik. So l'chayr, that means the mitzvah Tashbisu on Erev Pessach Cholios B'Shabbos, which is this year, is on the 14th day of Nisan. As you would expect, it's the Pirush Mekubal Moshe Rabbeinu. L'chayr. Comes the Rambam in Hilchos Chomutz Umatzah in Perek Gimel Halacha Gimel. Chala ba'oso lios b'Shabbos, boiknes achometz b'leil ar erev Shabbos, shuhu leil shloisha oso, u'meiniach min achometz kedei lecho mimenu ad arba shois biyoim haShabbos, u'meinichoi b'mokom mutzna. Vashar miva'aroi mifnei haShabbos. Before Shabbos, im Nisham and Achometz, but also shows miva'al of a couple of kli. Ad Motzei Yontif, Alisha miva'aroi. So comes the Rav and he asks Rabbeinu Shalom, why doesn't he pass it below Zalab Sodik, which the Rambam passes like that in Pirush HaMishnah? Omar Avlom. Hogav Zal lekosav kain ela betruma hu shemevayra umishaya avochulin enu mevayra klum ela bezmano klabeloza ish basusa klabeloza b'sadik the tavaya silu ladodi v'cheinika. So comes the Makeves HaMishnah Chelma and says that the Ram Mishnah Torah is chayzer of the Pirush Mishnayis. From the Sugim Psochim Daf Yud Gimel, and he says, "Omnam kan b'chibur chazer bo Rabbeinu do b'Psochim Daf Yud Gimel masik Rav taloch Reb Yehuda the Ram Gamliel lav machriuhu v'taymed enav shekomo." So therefore, we paskin not like we paskin that the beer is on the 13th. So the question is, how we mekayim the mitzvah tashbisu? Irdach tashbisu is your daled. That's the Pirush Mekubal. So let's before and start. What is the mitzvah tashbisu? So the Rambam in Mina Mitzvahs, in Mitzvah Sei Kuf Nun Vov, Ibn Tibbet's translation, he should see vonu levaye chometz mibotenu biyoim abo also benisan. V'zu hi mitzvahs hashbos ha'sa'or. V'hu amrei yis'al ach b'yom rishon tashbisom b'teichem. V'kru chachamim gam kein mitzvahs bir. V'atzeloi mabir chometz. Kapach translates that it's not levaye, but it's lahosir. But it's to remove. It's physical removal of the chometz from my rishus. Ibn Tibbon Kedaka B'Kodesh, that when it's not clear to him what the translation should be, he uses the Minyan HaKotze to help him translate. And the Minyan HaKotze in Kufnu involved Levaye chometz shenema b'yom harishon tashbisom b'teichem. Okay, so the mitzvah in Minyan HaMitzvos and Minyan HaKotze is Levaye, to destroy the chometz, to remove from Rishus, whatever you like. However, the Rambam brought their mitzvahs and in Mishnah Torah has changed his mind, and the mitzvah is of Tashbiso is Bitul. First of all, he says Stam in the Protei Mitzvahs. In the beginning of Hilchos Chometz U'Matzah, lahashbis so b'yom havos. And in Mishnah Torah proper, in the halachos, he says like this: Perek Beis halacha Aleph and halacha Beis Hilchos Chometz U'Matzah. Mitzvah say min haTorah lahashbis hachometz. And then he says, Umahi hashbosas, hashbosasa, hashbosa. Zo, what's this hashbosa? What's a tashbis in the Torah? He sheyevatel hechometz b'liboy v'yachshe v'oisei ke'ofa v'yosim b'liboy she'ein b'rishus chometz klal. So it's not physical removal of the chometz m'rishus, but in your mind the chometz is meaningless and ka'ofa. Shekol achometz b'shusay hari ka'ofa gedova she'ein by tzarech klal. So you could have imagined that maybe the change was that since in Mishnah Torah he concluded that there's no Biyur chometz on Shabbos, so how you mekayim mitzvah tashbisa? So you mekayim it through Bitul, and everything I call mekayim yov b'shalom. Okay, that would be very nice. However, Rabbi say, this is very simplistic and wrong. Okay, derech agav. Before we go on, it seems that the Rambam changed his mind about what the mitzvah tashbisu is at a later stage in his life, because in the Madur Kama of Mishnah Torah, it also says like Sefer mitzvahs. And let me read it to you. The Madur Kama, which you find in the Fus Venezia, Umahi hashbos azay in halacha beis, Amur b'Torah, he sheyosir hechometz hayadua loy mirishusay. That's what Kapach uses that as the basis of translation. The Ram uses in the Madur Kam Mishnah Torah. Ushe'eno yadua yivatlenu b'liboy. V'yachshav oisei ke'ofa, v'yosem b'liboy, she'ein b'shusei chometz klal, she'kol chometz she'b'shusei harei k'ofa, v'dov she'ein boi tzorach klal. So what he did is, he crossed out the difference between chometz yadua and chometz ye'ein yadua, and the mitzvah is bittul. This idea, the action of vatal on Yudalid, it's clear in the Tur Chaim, Siman Tov Mem Dalid, Al Ba'asa Shechol Yes B'Shabbos, Boitkin B'Leil Yud Gimel, Umevarin hakol lifnei haShabbos, umisharin was a shtei Seudos, a tzorach Shabbos, ubeyoim haShabbos yevatel. That's very clear. And the Beis Yosef says, the Masha Kosov, b'yom haShabbos yevatel, posherhu, me'atam shenizboy b'simen tov lamed daled, v'leisagi v'bitul d'laylo, v'fi shechoyze v'zeicha v'pas, sheshir l'macholo, v'yeshlochu shema yishayim imenu b'bayis, v'yavolov. So he needs a bittul. And this is an Orchaim Tov Mem Dalet, Siv Beis, u'b'yom haShabbos yevatlenu. And the Gain, we'll see about this. He says this is the Pshat the Gemara Pessach Daf Zayin and Aleph. We'll see about the Gemara Pessach Zayin and Aleph in a second. Okay, so the tour, everything's good. Even if you say the mitzvah is Tashbisu, or the Tashbisu is on your Dalet, the Mevatel Chometz, then you're all set. However, Rabbi Isai, if you read the Rambam carefully, the Rambam threw a monkey wrench into this whole approach. Because the Rambam says that in Chometz Yedua, there's no bitul Chometz. And he says, we'll go through all this, the only reason you're vatal the Chometz on the 14th day is because you were left chometz on the 14th day. But if you would want, you didn't have chometz, there's no need to mevatel chometz. So back to where we started, really. Let's read it. The Rambam first of all, let's start with the Gemara Pessachim. If you read the Gemara Pessachim, which the Gaon claims in the Makor for the Shulchan Aruch, the Gemara goes like this: Zayin and Aleph. Mo says, Tanya, see, he wasn't at home. He was in the Beis Medrash in the middle of learning. Okay? So it says he doesn't have to go back home. How he made all the students and sit in the Beis Medrash, it's a mess, but that's what it is. That's stated in Gemara. Beis Medrash, V'niska, sheyesh chometz b'seich beisai, mivatloi b'liboy, Echot Shabbos v'echot Yom. The Bishlam Shabbos mishkachas kagoyim lo kagoyim shechala bo also lios b'Shabbos. So l'chir Pashut Gemara is the case is Beis Medrash. But if he's in his house, he's do something else. The Gaon quotes this Gemara that Ish Mevatel in general. How he does it with the tour, how they see the Gemara is a little bit beyond me, but that's what he's quoting. Okay. But the Ram is very careful. The Ram says that the bittul on Shabbos is only when you're stuck. And we'll see about this, okay? So the Ram therefore says, "V'im nishal min hachometz yom habo also acher arba shos mevatloi." So the Ram is only nisha, but if it's loy nisha, he don't do nothing. He eats up the chometz and he's finished. And there's nothing that happened on Yud Dalet that has any semblance of the mitzvah's tashbisa. Just for the record, this is not really for us. This is difficult, the Rambam, because whenever you cut it, you get the impression that if you're not in the Beis Medrash, something different should happen. But the Rambam is the Beis Medrash, and not the Beis Medrash is the same, because all he does is mevatel it, correct? Which is basically the same thing the Gaon does according to Torah. There's a problem according to everyone. Okay, so that's what we have. So here we have a clear Rambam in Mishnah Torah. There's a Pirush Makubal that Tashbisu is on Yom Yud Dalet. And the Rambam clearly in Mishnah Torah is certainly Madur Basra, the mitzvah tashbisu is to mavata b'liboy. And the Ram clearly says that the only circumstance that you actually mavata l'chometz is only if it was happened to be left over. So how is it mekayim the mitzvah tashbisu? Ach b'yom harishon tashbisu so mi'odechem. Okay? That's the question. That's a reasonable question. The source that he had, it's mamish clear. Okay? I don't think it's incontrovertible. Just state Rambam. Okay? Now, next. So maybe this would support Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim in Kedusha Reb Chaim Alevi in Ochos Chomot Tzomata Perek Aleph Lochel Gimel, when he's talking about whether it's a lav and nittel aseh, Bal Yuro and Tashbisu, he says Venira to loidome mitzvah Tashbisu dash posose b'chol dover le mitzvah schreifer. It's Tashbisu is everything. It's not dafke schreifer. The mitzvah Tashbisu b'shari hashposais have ika hamitzvah. B'hasha hashposais have. Okay. Ika hamitzvah shelo yehe lehabayil v'chometz. The ika mitzvah is the bayil shouldn't have chometz. Ma she'enkin in mitzvahs b'schreifer have a mitzvah shachayil b'chefse shel chometz the chala boy din schreifer. Okay. It has to be burned. Ule'inyin Hette the Nasa Mitzvos will be in a dafka she'ei Nasa Mitzvos b'chefsa. In terms of Nasa Mitzvos b'chefsa, the it's very clear. Oz nita chayfetz. V'loi kishabaylim kimo mitzvah terami alayu yehei nita b'zeh chefsa because not a kimo chefsa. It's just the chayv and the gavut to get rid of the chometz. That the chometz shouldn't be around. This is the beginning. Schreif is a key. Mechefsa, hashbos is just to destroy. It's just the chefsa should be out of his rishos. Not a key mechefsa. Then he says, Al kein huter efer by schreif. Ulefi zeh, here's the important part. Ulefi zeh how mi yishovim heitev divrei Rambam. Deloikim al lave delo yero avelo yemotze. It's the chalav and the sefer tashbisu. That tam delo yachshav the choshev lav and the sefer loimo to whom mishum desfirle the hach tashbisu ikroi hu isu aseh shelo yehei loy chometz v'avi kmo Kol advor masurim b'aseh v'lo yisaseh. The loy having nittel aseh. It's basically like an isa aseh. Im kein lo shayach zois, elo im neimo dashpo zois, elo im neimo dashposa b'chol dovo. Kmo shenis boy del maniyom dashposa b'chol dovo. Ika kodesh bisu hu shelo yehei lohem chometz. We shouldn't have chometz. So you understand we shouldn't have a chometz. There's no real time to it. Okay, we don't know what your dollar means exactly, but it sounds very good, and everything should be fine and dandy. The problem with this, if we recall, in Minyan HaMitzvos, we pointed out the Rambam in Perek Aleph because Ishas Halacha Ches. The Rambam says, "V'yesh she'isa bi'osan b'aseh." Ve'ena mechai v'lavim u'shloishehem mitzri v'adoimi dorishon v'sheni echad zchor v'echad nekevas. These two are isui aseh, and they're not in Minyan HaMitzvos. So the answer is the Ram doesn't count isui aseh in Minyan HaMitzvos. And that's the medrash that Ram quotes in the Akdomo to the Shoshim, and also in the Shoshim in one place also, that called Eva ve'Eva aseh bi mitzvah, the Tanchuma. And mitzvahs need to be a kum v'aseh. Aseh be mitzvah. And that's what Shalosh Ches is all about. That mitzvahs are tzivuyim. And there's a negative command and a positive command. It causes means to do something. You tell him to eat. Toichal. And that's a tzivuy. And that's the mitzvah. So it's kuvasei. So you don't understand how Reb Chaim can that the mitzvah tashbisu shevi atase. And still, and it's an Isa say, and still be minyan mitzvahs. Okay? That's the problem. So I think the answer is like this. You have to read Reb Chaim again. Because Reb Chaim says the word ikroi. Whenever you have ikah, you have an ikah in a tofel. Okay? So he doesn't say that it's solely an Isa Aseh. There is an element of kumvaseh. It really, what Reb Chaim I think has done. See, he says, look at the lashon again. He says, what do you mean ikroi? And he does it before also. Ika mitzvah shelo yehei labayim chometz. So I was only wondering, it's almost what Reb Chaim is probably doing. Is let's just see. The question only is, let's leave it like this at the moment. So how does it work? It's basically having the cake and eating it, you know. It's leaving the cake and having it, you know. You can't have it. He's saying there's an element of mitzvah aseh, if it's in the minyan. On the other hand, he says ikroi is b'shevi al taseh, so therefore it is not a lav nitul aseh. So we don't, in other words, whether it's the answer or not, we're not any brighter because we have no idea how this works. Okay, next. So let's go back. We'll come back to this, see what this is, okay? But that's Reb Chaim. Now, next. I want to tell you something about the takana for b'dikas chometz. The Rambam is mechadish in the takana of b'dikas chometz that in chometz yadua you need biyur chometz. Bittul is not enough. There's no bittul on chometz yadua. Chometz yadua requires biyur. And the Rambam, even on a plain day that Yud Dalet falls out any other day of the week, except for Shabbos, it can't because of the calendar, whatever it is. But let's just, for argument's sake, there's no bittul chometz in the day of the 14th, unless he only did bedika during the day or something like that. But the bittul chometz is only at night and only on chometz she'eno yodua. So this whole business, we say nusach she'yisiv, shelo yisiv, she'yadat alei, lo yadan alei. This is not the Rambam. There's no such thing. Bittul chometz is only on chometz she'eno yodua. Listen to the Rambam. When we divrei seifrim, l'chapes acher chometz, b'machbois u'b'chorin, v'livdoik, u'lohitzioi mikol gevul. He has to get rid of it. We said you has to get rid of the chametz. And then there's another takana that you do bedika at night on Leil Yudalid and hashbasa umashbisen a chametz b'layla mitchilas Leil abasa on there. So what does it mean? He does bedika and then he does bittul, and that's in Perek Gimel Halacha Zayin. The Ram says ukishagoymer livdoik im bodak b'leil abasa o b'yoyim abasa klidim sheishos tzorch levatel kol achometz shenishal b'rishusay v'einei re'ehu. Not all the chometz. V'yoymer kol chometz sheyesh b'rishusay shelo re'isiv v'lo yedativ harihu botel. So after the takana of bdikas chometz, there's no bittul on chometz sheni yadua. So ba'ines, where he's the base medrash, or where Yudalit, where he's up against the wall, there was a kula that there's bittul, but you still have to destroy it afterwards. Okay? So basically, the only bittul that the Rambam has is in Yudalit, in the normal Pesach, Yudalit at night. Okay, the normal Pesach. Leil Yudalit. However, on Yudalit, Shecholis B'Shabbos, the bittul is solely on Leil Yud Gimel. This whole bittul that we know, that's in the tour of Yadate, V'lo Yadate, the Reisiv, Lo Reisiv, that's not the Rambam. The Mafkia B'chlal, except B'mokam Oinis, the whole bittul from Chomet Yadua. So now, the question is even more amazing, okay? He does his B'dika, and he does his bittul on Leil Yudalid. He does the biyur sometime in the morning without any bittul, and comes Yudalid, and he finishes chametz and his meal, and he behaves all the commands, and nothing's left. And if Lamaisa he can't finish it, so then the Ram says, Yemavatloi, it comes Dalit shows, Mavatloi v'koifel of Kli. So that's what we have, correct? That's the Rambam. Rabbi. Now, I think personally, there was another chazorah from Sefer Mitzvah, from Sefer Mitzvahs to Mishnah Torah. And let's now read carefully the Rambam. Here, it's interesting. The Minyan HaKotzer goes together with Mishnah Torah in this prat, not in the whole everything. And the question is Yudalid part of the mitzvah or not? Ram Minyan HaMitzvos says clearly in Mitzvah Kuf Nun Vav, Hish Zivonu Levaya Chometz Bosenu Biyom HaBosa Menisa. So Yom HaBosa Menisa, you're stuck. What are you going to do? And in the Protei Mitzvot says Lahash B'Sa'or B'Yom HaBosa. It's on Yom HaBosa. That's what he clearly says. However, in the Minyan HaKotzer, I wouldn't say something might be succinct. Something might be it might be abridged. He says Levaye Chometz. Doesn't give a date. Shenema B'Yom HaRishon Tashbis Som V'Teichen. But now let's focus on Mishnah Torah and read the Rambam very clearly in Perek Beis Halacha Aleph. Mitzvahs Aseh min HaTorah lahashbis hachometz koidem zman isa achilosoi. He doesn't say Yudalid. Koidem zman isa achilosoi. Shenema b'yoyim orisha tashvisa, but he does, and he throws the monkey wrench in at the same time. Shenema b'yoyim orisha tashvisa v'techa l'pi hashmuel lamdu sherishon zeh hu yoyim ha'ba'asa. So how does it work? He's very careful. It's Kedem. He's changed the nusach of the mitzvah. You don't have to do it on Yud Daled. The bittul on Leil Yud Gimel is also enough. You don't need anything else. If you finish everything left, and if the chomet yedua you burnt on Friday, because bittul doesn't help for chomet yedua. Leil on Thursday night, which is Yud Gimel, you did bittul, and you did bidik and bittul, and in the morning you do beer, and if you have no chometz left over, you're absolutely finished. No problem. You never do anything more because it was Kedem Zman Isur. But the question is, what does it mean? The Rambam says that Mipir Shmuel Lamdu that Rishon is Yudalid. So how can he say in the same sentence Kedem Zman Isa and at the same time Yudalid? But if the Kedem Zman Isa is serious, we're okay. Okay? This is the problem now, okay? Okay, next. So I want to suggest the following. If you recall, we had in the Rambam Mishnah Torah, Sefer HaMitzvos, he had mitzvahs which he called bikon, okay? It means to be in the state of, okay? The mitzvah is that your chometz should be in the state of, in a mindset of offer and ki'ilu eno shava klum. Ki'ilu eno b'yeshusay. You don't have to physically do the bittul, whether it's belev or befeh, on Yudalid. But when you come to Yudalid, if all your chometz is in the matzav of bittul, she'eno shova klum, of offer ba'alma, so then you yotze. Okay? Maybe this is what Chaim meant, that it's ikol nisaseh, because it's really the pu'ula. In other words, you could do it Kedem Zman Isa, but on Yudalid, on the Ripia Shmua, it has to be all your chometz in your mind has to be bottom of uto. So since there's no necessity for a pu'ula of destroying the chometz, b'yadayim, it's just that the chometz shouldn't be kayim, even though it's a certain sense of kumvaseh. He says ikoy shev al tasa. So comes up Chaim a chidish that in minyan mitzvahs, the fact that it's in the state and you have to make sure that this matzav exists is enough for minyan mitzvahs, not worse than tmura. However, for lava nitak laseh, that's not enough. And that's what he's machadish. I'm not getting involved, So, how does that reflect itself in Tmura? What's allowed in the Glase? The Rav wanted to use a different definition. It's not for you, for us now. But this is what's going on over here. You're allowed, the Ram says, Kainazman Isa, you can do the Bittul. And comes the tour, and he says, no. Tashbisu is an emes kumbase. You have to be mevatel l'chometz in your daled. And there was no hafkor from bittul, even in chometz yedua. It's just a separate din that even if you're vatel, you have to destroy it also. So therefore, the nusach of bittul is very different. The isiv, lo isiv, the yadanale, lo yadanale. It's a very different story. So the Rambam then is beautiful. By making this change and said it's Kodesh Mani, so that's what Chaim is picking up on. And that the Ikroi, it's not that it's completely, it's Ikroi, a Shevi al Tasa, an Isa, Aseh, they shouldn't have it, but there is an element of Kumvaseh, but the Kumvaseh is just that you should be in the state of Bittul on your Dalet. And that's how you enter the mitzvah. An amazing thing. And it's all because of the problem of Yudal Shechoyas B'Shabbos, how you mekayim the mitzvah of Tashbisu, this whole thing comes together. Okay, let's continue now. This is the beginning. Now, comes Reb Krieger. So this is the Rambam. The Rambam in the Torah, Acholach Be'etzem Yisei Dinoi, was Bedika Mafkia Bittul from Chomet Yedua, except Ba'ines, or no, it was Mafkia, but there's still a separate din that even though the Bittul is Chal, you still need Biyur. Okay? So the Torah says every morning, every Yudalid, even if you do Bedika at night and you did Bittul, then the Bittul, you do have to do another Bittul a day of Reis and Lo Reis. The Ram doesn't have such a Bittul. There's only Biyur in the morning. I mean, it's a very clear nafkamina for all years, okay, except for this year, that according to the Torah, you should do the sreifa before the last hour, before the hour of the 6th hour, because if it's osabano, you can't do bittul anymore. And the biyur requires a bittul together also. Of Lois, according to the Ram in the morning, you can do it in the 6th hour also. There's no problem, there's no bittul. All you're doing is destroying the chametz. You can destroy the chametz in the morning, the night before, or even if it's osabano. Now, comes with Krieger, and he asks a kash. Rav Krieger in Simon Tov Mem Dalet Sif Hey, v'koifol of kli ad, because the Shulchan quotes Ram, you koifol of kli and you whatever, and you burn it motzoi Shabbat, motzoi Yontif. Kosheli, amai nate b'kfias kli, ho yochol lezolkoi l'chutz, o lebeis hakisei. V'shayni b'yoyim yontov she'osa l'talta v'tzochiyun. So if Krieger asks, why isn't there biyur chometz on Shabbos? Shabbos in the morning. That's his kasha. Okay? So, if I'm not mistaken, the priest can probably say, yeah, he's right. You should throw it in the toilet or whatever, okay? But the Shulchan Aruch doesn't say that. So the Rav, used to say that according to the Rambam, the Kiyum Bir Chometz is also, okay, on Shabbos or on Yom Tov. I don't want to have polemics with this now. I have a separate shir on this. I'm done lifnei Mori v'Rabi Bekalka on this issue. But, using the paradigm of a pchaim that there's no kiyum in the chefsa, and to talk about the kiyum of and all these dinim, he's based on a Yerushalmi and Shabbos, the second parak, which basically Ram doesn't paskin. This paradigm to say in the Rambam has a different reason in Hilchos Yontiv of they say the Isa Malocha, according to the Rav, it's the kiyum with Yerushalmi. Even though it's true, Rav Grelch Zechon pointed out at Tisefta in the second parak of Shabbos that compares Chometz, it compares Sreifas Truma Tmeya and Sreifas Kochin Tmeya and Sreifas Chometz, all in the same group. That would be beautiful according to the Rav. But I think that's no proof, because the Tisefta is only talking about Sreifa, which the Kiyum Chefsa. And then you can imagine there was Gzeir as far as that. You could have said the whole shtickle in Tisefta. But in Rambam, I don't see any evidence for this, okay? And in fact, I think the evidence is different. But okay, good. But whatever it is, steht in Rambam, that you're careful of Kli. So I think it's two options. But Kvega said, Yochel Zorkoi Lechutz. What do you mean Zorkoi Lechutz? I don't know what Chutz is. It's Shrabim, whatever. I'm not sure exactly what it is. They have an Erev. What's Zorkoi Lechutz? And he says, all the Beis HaKisei. So I would tell you in Rambam that look at the mitzvahs Biyur in Perek Gimel Aloch Yud Aleph. Ketzad Biyur Chometz, Sofoi, Oy Peirer, V'Zeir L'Ruach. Zeir L'Ruach is not enough. It has to be Peirer, or Zorko L'Yam. But there's no such thing as Zorko L'Chutz. I don't know what it means, Zorko L'Chutz. Okay? So he says, Yisofoi, Oy Peirer, V'Zeir L'Ruach, or Zorko L'Yam. V'im Hoye Chometz, HaChometz Kosher, V'ein Hayam Mechatcho, because the acidic action of the sea grinds the Chometz and makes it into small pieces and disintegrates, helps the Chometz disintegrate. So if it's kosher, then you have to Mechatcho. V'ein Hayam Mechatcho B'Meheiro, Harizeh Mefaroi, V'achakach Zorko L'Yam. So basically, the mitzvah Biyur Chometz is not L'Zorko B'Chutz, and not to be Zorko in the Beis HaKisei. It's the Chometz should be destroyed and disintegrated. If you throw it into the water, it has to be soft Chometz, which I assume I assume it might even be a salty sea, that the salt and the interaction, it disintegrates. You basically destroy the Chometz, not to get rid of it. That's what Biyur Chometz is all about. So I'm not sure I understand exactly what Craig is asking. Even though I understand the Poskim will tell you that to throw it into Beis HaKisei, I just don't see what you've done. Because basically, I'm not sure if you're kind of mitzvahs Biyur according to the Rambam. It's not to make it nifso machilas adam, that no one would eat it. The mitzvah is to disintegrate, that should be disintegrated and destroyed. That's one option. Okay? And l'cheira, you have to mefare it if it's hard, and if it's soft, it has to be in a yam. It's nazochel l'chutz, the Beis HaKisei is not the issue. There's another option, which I can't say I'm 100% sure about. One could make a case that is a big difference between machal odom and that which is not roy lachilas odom, or not miyuchad lachilas odom. The Ram Shita is in Perek Chavav of Hilchos Shabbos Orchat Zayin that even though there's a heter to be metalta machal behema, it's only if the min behema is motzri etzel b'nei odom. In general, he happens to have one, but it has to be min behema. There's separate dinim of tiltal of machal odom. The heter muksa, which has complete, no holds barred, excuse the expression, is only machal odom. I'm only wondering, the Rambam's discussing after Shor Daled, where it's Nesa B'achila. Maybe there are elements that you're only allowed to metaltal it under certain circumstances for behem or whatever. And I assume that he asked him about the Shor Daled, no behemoths around, he's talking about the case. So therefore, it might be not, I don't know if it's muksa, but the heter tiltal might not be extend to pick it up to destroy it. The heter tiltal of machal behema is to give it to a behema, and has to be motzui. Similarly, just to conclude over here, there's the same way we found the machlokes between the Tur and the Rambam, where the mitzvahs Yudalid is there's tashbiso on Yudalid, where the Tur is saying bittul, and the Rambam says there's no bittul on Yudalid. There's a similar issue about Biyur, where there's Biyur on Yudalid. The Baal HaMaor in Dapei Tezvov or Mebeis, Psachim, Dapei Rif, V'cham imrim bizmanon, Rabbon l'tamayu, Desilu b'biyur chometz mefar v'zoy l'ruach, Umata l'yam. V'ein b'zeh av melocha, sheyitche Shabbos. Umishum, so he says it's a drabon, it's not a drais, it's not an av melocha. Umishum mitzvahs hashposas so'or, shehi bizmano, hitiru loy af b'Shabbos, liyois mefarer v'zoy l'ruach, umata l'yom, bein b'chulin, bein b'truma, uvad shelo yavenu dalet amos, b'shusarav, yavenu b'shusarav. The Baal HaMaor says that the mefarer v'zoy l'ruach, clearly there's an isa d'rabonon. But they were matir it for the kiyum of Biyur Chometz, which is your dalet. And the Rambam and the Chayra, it could be a tashbis of the Reise is through Biyur Chometz, as the Rambam in Minyan HaMitzvos, and you allow him to do it. I'm not sure when you say that you mamid divreim for ein olam b'ilon to be kind of mitzvah of shofar, and here you would be matir. I'm not sure how and where you have the decision about that, but that's irrelevant to me. It does take the Baal HaMaor. Comes the Rambam and says no. That the mitzvah is you can do a bittul on your dalet in Mekayim the mitzvah. And you can do a beer on your dalet. And in the chometz you do it. No problem. And if nothing's left over, you're finished. When you finish eating, that is what I would say here. Now, I just a note on Gimel Seudos. Okay, we're not going to have time to say she have another share, but it's just not going to happen now. Okay, I just want to point something out to you. When you're approaching here, the Rav always love this because here it is. Like, you know, when two halachic parameters are like colliding, okay? And we had this here in Yudal Cholos b'Shabbos, how Shabbos and Biyur and Bitul and Yudal and how it all collides together, okay? Here, the first question you have to ask yourself where does the mitzvah of Shalosh come from? Where does that chiyuv come from? You have to ask yourself another question. Are there times for the Seudos Shabbos? Does the third Seudah have to be in the afternoon? Which Rashi and Pessach and Gimel and Rambam clearly say it have to be. Others say it doesn't have to be. So if it doesn't have to be, then you have the option of doing 2 Seudos in the morning. And if you do Seudos in the morning, the question is how you're allowed to bench. Are you allowed to bench? Is the problem? Is it not a problem? Okay. But there's another issue, which the Achronim talk about it. In fact, the Shul and the Malil asked the question. Okay. Why don't we say that the mitzvah of Shalosh Seudos should be dreiche, the Isa of Avi P'sochim Samuch L'Mincha L'Yocham and Mincha L'Mayla? Or why shouldn't it be dreiche the Isa of Kol Oichel Matzav Erev Pessach L'Ba Sasav Beis Chamov? In fact, Rabbi Isai, my impression is that the Ozurua says that it is dreiche, and you're allowed to eat the matzah in the afternoon. But I think there's a misnomer over here. And I'll leave you with this vault. I think it's a nice one. Maybe we'll see if we have a little more time to say something else. The question is, what is the Isa of Ki'ilu Boil Alusasa Beis Chamov? Basically, he tach nisui beer. Okay? I think the Ram is mashma like that, because if the Ram says that the ein meisoit the boit kenes ishta, because he was boil a biasur kilo, okay? But he talks about boil, that's the boil our sauce base chama. But if it's kilo boil, maybe that's what's happening, or is that not what's happening? However, comes the Ozurua and says the Isa of eating matzah and Erev Pessach as an Isa of Gargaron. It's a person who's overcome by desire to have pleasure and food. Okay? So the answer is Chabrisai. If he's eating now the matzah because of the mitzvah Shalosh Seudos, there's no issue of Gargaron. Chabrisai, I want to tell you something, okay? It's not my own Sefer. Das steht in Gemara. How do I know this? Because the Gemara says, when it discusses B'tzia Beis Kikres, the Gemara says that one Amora was Botza Akulu Sherusa. Rashi says it was big pieces of bread. The Rashba says it was every challah which was in front of him. Frek the Gemara is the Mechze Kegargerson, that he looks like a lohut achal oichel. So the Gemara, even the B'shai Yomi, he doesn't do it. And he only does it on Shabbos. And Lechem Mishnah, the Gemara does, it's the Chmuch, it's not a Galgaran. And that would be the answer of the Ozurua to the Shoyel in the, he's talking would say like that. It's not a Dechi. You know, whether they would be Dechi or not is irrelevant. Okay? But there's no Galgaran over here. Okay. There's another issue over here. Another issue over here. It could be, first of all, what's the makor for Shalosh Seudos? The Ram seems to say that the ayom is only an asmachta. The makor is the mitzvah from Oinik Shabbos. The Ram puts it all in the middle of Oinik Shabbos. Comes the Yereim in Minyan HaMitzvos and has two separate mitzvahs in Minyan HaMitzvos. Has a mitzvah of Oinik Shabbos and a separate mitzvah of Achilas Gimel Seudos. And in fact, in his Seder Minyan HaMitzvos, he puts together with the mitzvah like matzah, the mitzvah of Achila. So I thought the Ram Shita is that each period of time requires einig at night, in the morning, in the afternoon. According to the Ozavua, according to the Erev, there is a mitzvah of having 3 achilas. We're not limited to times. And in fact, the Erev himself says it. The Erev says that the Muslim based Seudos is Shnei Svios. He splits the Suda up. It's Svi Achas, and he splits it up. The Agos Maimonides quotes it. And it's also in Ozavua. Also in the Erev, Sefer Erev. Okay. He breaks the Suda up. The question is, how do you break the Suda up? Do you bench? Tosis talks about a problem. Maybe it's a Baruch Hashem Tzrich. We have to see about this issue. But I'll tell you, there's a Rekeach that has an amazing idea. The Rekeach says that they used to want to go to the Beis Medrash and be afraid of Beis Medrash, so they used to have 2 Seudos in the morning. In general, forgetting about Yudal Shabbos b'Shabbos. So you know what they did? They sang Zmires between the 2 meals. So I want to tell you what's the pshat. What's the pshat? What's singing Zmires? If you look at the Marze Vitre, they sang Zmires b'Gemar HaSuda. Why Rabbeis have b'Gemar HaSuda? Because ein Masichem b'Suda. And the fact that you sing is the Charayah doch the Gemar HaSuda. So comes the Ozaru, comes the Rekeach. It's an amazing vault. The 2 days where you have to bench or not. But it could be you can have 3 Seudos on Shabbos. The fact that in your mind there's a separate Seudah, that's enough. You don't have to bench. Okay. The others hold that you have to bench. And you have to ask yourself, no. So you have to bench, but it's a problem of Baruch Hashem Tzricha. So the emes is, you find a similar thing. The Rambam in Perek Zayin Hilchos Tefillah, I think it's Perek Zayin, when he talks about Meir Brachos, he says that you're allowed to have a yerek and make a brei piyadoma and the brei nefashos, and then take a fruit. You don't have to say both of them, and brei piyadoma and another brei nefashos. So the question is the Rambam saying that b'mokim you're making the bracha not for your own purposes, but the tzorach mitzvah? Maybe there's no problem b'chlal. That's not sheinu tzorach. And we have to ask ourselves, maybe the same thing would be on splitting up the Suda and saying Birchas HaMazon. Okay, or maybe you have to wait a little to see. I'm not getting involved in that, but you should all be zeicha nechal min azvachim min apsochim min apsochim min azvachim, whatever you like. Ashiagir doma kim is b'chacha l'rotzein. You should be zeicha to imakil the korban Pessach. Amen.